Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to shrink an enlarged prostate and how to do it naturally. And so if you've been diagnosed with what's called benign prostate hyperplasia, then this is going to be very relevant for you. Or if you are somebody who is having symptoms of frequent urination, maybe weak flow, dribbling, or you feel like you can't fully empty your bladder, then this is going to be the video for you. And I want you to stay till the end because I'm going to share a little recipe with you that maybe you didn't know was out there that you can use to get some relief. And this is something that has a lot of good research behind it. And what we have found is if you combine these together, you get a better synergistic effect and you get a better result. But when it comes to an enlarged prostate, which is something that happens in men as we get older, it's this little piece of anatomy right here. So here's our bladder, and our urinary tract comes out of the bladder so that we can pee. But sitting around that urinary tract is our prostate. And typically when you're younger and you don't have issues with it, then you can have the normal urination, you can have a good strong flow, you don't have any dribbling, and you don't feel like you have to go to the bathroom all the time. But as we age, then what happens, that prostate can enlarge, and you got to think about this is that as it enlarges, it's going to shrink that urinary tract. And so we can't get as good flow out of the bladder, and so that we can empty. And you're always going to have that feedback loop that's going to tell you if you have urine in the bladder so that you need to go pee. And why this is happening is because there are multiple factors, and we're going to go over those a little bit later, but increased estrogen is one of the main causes why the prostate will enlarge. Now, you see that in women, it looks like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, cervical cancer. There are many types of issues with estrogen, especially the bad forms of estrogen that we see today. In men, it ends up causing proliferation of the tissue around that prostate. And so what happens is that estrogen is a derivative of testosterone. And so the more aromatase, or the more test that you convert to estrogen, especially as you age, the larger that prostate is going to get. And one of the reasons why this happens as we age is because when we're younger, we have a lot of testosterone, but we don't convert it into estrogen because it's not needed. And as we age, what happens is that a lot of our testosterone gets aromatized. And one of the reasons is because we get fatter, okay? So maybe you're not as physically active, maybe your diet changes, but body fat will actually produce estrogen, and it's produced in three places. It's produced in your body fat, it's produced in your adrenal glands, and it's produced in the sex organs. So the more body fat that we have, we can say that the more estrogen that we're going to have, the more prostate enlargement we're going to have. So addressing the body fat is one of the biggest benefits that you can do in order to address the hyperplasia of the prostate. Now, insulin also ties into this, and this is mainly due to blood sugar, okay? And these two tie together because if you're eating a lot of sugary foods, simple sugars, you don't have a very well-rounded diet, then what will happen is you're going to get insulin resistance, maybe you become pre-diabetic, maybe you become diabetic. And diabetics typically have more trouble with this than people who aren't diabetic. But those blood sugars get turned into fat, which gets turned into estrogen. So you can see how this cycle all correlates. Managing your blood sugars can not only help you reduce the weight and the body fat and the estrogen, but it can also prevent you from developing any of those chronic diseases that I commonly talk about on here, such as diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's. So that's a very important factor as well. The next one is alcohol. And so alcohol does inhibit the biotransformation of hormones in the liver. because if the liver is constantly having to process the alcohol and detoxify it, then it can't go through the proper removal of estrogens throughout the body. Also, with alcohol, it will get turned into fat. Alcohol sugars are something that is very common that isn't talked about with alcoholics or people who drink excessive amounts of alcohol. This is why people end up with fatty liver, because the alcohol gets made into fat, the sugar alcohols, and it gets deposited around the liver. And so that is very common, and we see that in diabetics as well, as that they tend to struggle with that. Whole grains. One way to tell that if you have a sensitivity to a whole grain is eat a piece of whole wheat or bread or whatever it may be, and put a pulse oximeter on your finger. If your heart rate spikes, you know you have a sensitivity to whole grains. Not only that, but you can use a glucometer to check and see if it spikes your blood sugars. And how does that tie in? Well, that goes back into this blood sugar component that is building more body fat, that is driving the production of estrogens, which drive the prostate to enlarge. So that can be a big issue as well. Another thing is that this HRT, especially if you're getting test, now it's great that you have testosterone, but if your body is metabolically challenged and your liver is metabolically challenged, then what's going to happen is all this test that you're getting from an exogenous form, you're going to aromatize and you're going to make it into, guess what? Estrogen. So now you don't have any testosterone to help you build muscle mass and raise your metabolism. You have all this estrogen that's going to go and get converted and cause even more proliferation of the prostate and cause your symptoms to get worse. So that is something that you definitely need to talk to your doctor about, to make sure that they're not driving those pathways that could be potentially making this worse. So if you found this helpful, please like this video, share it, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up down below, or say this is great, you like this information. But let's move on. So one of the things that I really want to talk about, since we've covered kind of the common symptoms, the causes of it, and the biochemistry. Now, your PSA should be less than 4. That indicates that you're not at risk for developing any type of BPH or enlarged prostate, or especially prostate cancers. Now, 4 to 10 is when that's your warning sign. That means that, hey, something's going on. Maybe we've got a little bit more estrogen in our system that is enlarging this prostate, causing that PSA to go up. And then above 10 is when you really need to consult your doctor, be proactive in your health. And I would say be proactive in this stage, because that way you never get to this stage where we're worried about prostate cancers and that spreading or getting any worse, or inhibiting just your daily life, because this is really affecting some people. So now you're probably asking, how do I fix this? And it's very, very simple. The solution is that you just need to decrease aromatase. So you need to prevent your testosterone from getting converted into estrogen. So cruciferous vegetables, just adding those into your diet, are a game changer when it comes to controlling your blood sugars, making sure that we're not accumulating fat, and then there are a lot of antioxidants in them as well. Mushrooms are another one. They have high levels of vitamin D, which vitamin D and zinc are 2 of the vitamins that I recommend for this, because they support this testosterone pathway. Flax seeds are great as well. They won't raise your estrogen. They have a lot of good omega-3 fatty acids in them, and then which that supports testosterone as well. Green tea has a lot of those antioxidants to help pull any type of oxidation out of that area and to help reduce systemic inflammation, which could be contributing to the enlargement of the prostate. And then kind of the grand finale here there are 3 herbals that you can use in order to inhibit aromatase. So saw palmetto is one that is very commonly used. And so my recommendation is that you're going to do 500 to 1500 milligrams for this 3 times a day, so with your meals. And then that's what I would do if I had this issue. Always consult a medical professional. And then pygeum, so that's Pygeum. That is a great anti-inflammatory, which has been shown to help reduce prostate inflammation. It doesn't necessarily help with this aromatase pathway, but just the inflammation incurred by the prostate it can help with. And then nettle root. This is another herbal that will help block the aromatase pathway. And with women, to kind of go off subject, if they're metabolizing estrogens and they have some carcinogenic forms of estrogens, nettle root is great to drive the pathway to those non-cancerous forms as well, so that that puts them at less risk for any type of breast or cervical cancer or uterine cancer. But like I said, it will also help this aromatase pathway to block that, so you're not converting it into those extra estrogens that are causing all of these issues. And then, like I said, obviously vitamin D and zinc, those help support your testosterone pathways and just overall healthy metabolism. So I hope that you like this video. Like I said, please like and share and subscribe if you found it useful. If you have any questions about this, please just let me know. But otherwise, make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to have more videos coming out soon, and I will see you all next time. Bye.